Yo, what's good, gang? Kawaii50 here with another sort of slightly related to Fate Grand Order video. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about related to the big Mahoyo collab that JP is doing. You also might know this as Mahoskai no Yoru, or Witch of the Holy Night if you are less of a weeb than me. And I have somebody here very, very special, very, very cool to talk with us about this collab, because I'm going to be upfront with you. While I did purchase Mahoyo, I have not read it, so I don't know anything about any of this. So I needed to get our expert. Expert, who are you?
Hello, I am MP. You might know me for that guy who did Type Moon Character Showcase back in the day. I love Fate Grand Order. I love Type Moon. This has been one of my biggest obsessions, and I am extremely, extremely stoked for this event. I have always wanted this event for a very long time, and we finally got it after, 8 years at this point? These past few days have been wild.
Yeah, he didn't even introduce himself as the Shiro Day man, so absolutely humbling. Absolutely humbling.
I guess that is kind of my legacy, isn't it?
Perfect. Well, MP, I'm glad to have you here. I think this is going to be absolutely incredible. I'm ready to learn a lot, and I think the first thing that we and a bunch of other people need to learn is, what is Mahoyo? Why do people seem to care so much?
Okay, so yes, this is the perfect thing to start with. For those who don't know, the Type Moon universe isn't just consisting of one work. So, Fate is a very big franchise as is. Like, everyone knows there are like a million different Fate works at this point.
With way too many timelines, yes.
Oh yeah, there's so many. It is, in Type Moon terms, a kaleidoscope. There's a million different colors. However, the Type Moon universe does not just expand to the Holy Grail War and the whole deal with servants fighting each other from history. No, this is a universe that is formed from multiple different stories. There are other stories in this timeline that don't have anything to do with servants, but they all take place in the same universe, and they're all connected through specific threads. And Mahoyo, or Mahotsukai no Yoru, is the very first Type Moon work ever made. So if there was like a quote-unquote proper order to consume Type Moon, if you wanted to be really, really strict on yourself, Mahoyo is the first one, because this is the Type Moon work that built the Nasuverse as we all know today. Like, every single Type Moon work came after this one. This is numero uno. So one of the biggest things that you might notice in Type Moon, or even Fate, is that the Mages Association takes a big part of it. Sometimes it even overshadows the whole Holy Grail War, like the whole Battle Royale aspect of the story, and you focus on like these characters like Rin Tosaka or Shiro Emiya, who are mainly Magi, and you wonder, oh geez, why are they so... What is their deal? What is the lore, and what is the backstory? What is their factions? What are all these terms they're throwing around?
Why are we fighting over this cup? What is the root?
Yeah,
why is there a supercomputer in the moon? I need answers.
Yeah, basically all those things, they relate and are answered in Mahoyo. So Mahoyo is the base foundation that basically the entire Nasuverse has come up with. Now, you can absolutely enjoy all other Type Moon works without Mahoyo, but if you want to get like complete understanding of all the lore and all the way the power systems work and the magic, Mahoyo is pretty essential, because it lays all the groundwork. Like, if you go into Mahoyo first, you're basically not going to have any issue understanding Type Moon from the Magus side of things. Like, you won't question anything like that. You won't have to like catch it on the fly. But that's
so you'll be popping in with like a thorough understanding of like, say for example, why is Kodomine in his role? Why is Tokiomi such a big deal? Like, what is going on with the schools? Why is Waver now suddenly Lord El Malloy? How did that whole hierarchy happen? So Mahoyo ends up like pulling all that in and giving that deep, deep background of the Mages Association.
I wouldn't say it gives like a super deep explanation, but it comments on them in ways that a lot of other Type Moon works don't. Like there's a huge misunderstanding that a lot of beginners have, and to be fair, everyone has this misunderstanding if they don't start with Mahoyo. There's a difference between magic and magecraft, but people often think that they're the same thing, but they are very much different. The Type Moon universe just does these things, and the groundwork isn't really explained unless you read Mahoyo first. But that's like optional stuff. You don't have to know that stuff. It's just nice to know in case you get a bit confused along the line. But that's essentially the thing. Mahoyo started this universe, and everything that came afterwards all have some sort of ties to Mahoyo, regardless of what you think. And it has been a series that we have not heard of in a very, very long time since its visual novel's release. Because for those who don't know, the visual novel is actually a remake. It was made in 2012, and it just went radio silent until 2022, I'm pretty sure, for the New Year's, where we got a remaster and also an anime adaptation announcement. And now we have the Fate Grand Order event. So this has all been very much planned by the guys at Type Moon. They have went silent on this IP for a very, very long time. And for 2022, they were like, you know what? We got to bring this back. We got to bring back the most important Type Moon work in all of history. So when we do this, we're going to pull in all the stops. We're going to bring in the visual novel, make it accessible for everyone. You can buy Mahoyo on Steam in English and multi-language. It is the first Type Moon visual novel ever that you can buy on console, on PC, in any language, or like, whether you want to read in Japanese, whether you want it in English, whether you want to read it in Chinese, Mahoyo is available. This is widely available at this point. It's very easy to have. And they also brought in the new anime adaptation. They're working way ages ago, and ever since then, I have been waiting for this, because like
that event was fun. That was really fun.
Yeah, with Kara no Kyoka, I was like, okay, so this is on the table. There's a chance. Now we just gotta wait. And so I waited, and it's been 8 years, but now we're finally here. The Collab is here, and we got the characters, and we are going to talk about them.
Oh yeah, we definitely are. I mean, you're going to understand. I mean, if you didn't already understand after MP's gush, now when we go into each individual character, you're going to understand why Type Moon prioritized this over girls' work. Let me tell you what. There's a reason right now.
I think girls' work is a bit of a different story.
I know I just caused you psychic damage by saying that. It's okay.
Very much.
I got it.
I'll cope.
All right, yeah. Let's talk about Aoko, because she is the main heroine. She is the poster girl for the FGO people. She is the saber of the entire Mahoyo setup, and she is joining into the game as well. Why don't we just talk about her class first really quickly, and then we'll go over into her abilities and the ways it's going to work, gang.
So this is already a pretty something worth talking about. So
for sure.
Yeah. So
she's
Aoko, surprising basically everyone, she's a foreigner. Now, this is something I don't think anyone expected. Like, I personally expected Archer, since her magecraft revolves around bullets, as we'll soon get to talking about.
I mean, that does make sense, but she's not connected to any sort of eldritch gods or anything, is she? Like, she's not connected to any Lovecraftian stuff, so already that reasoning is off the table.
No. And the reason we have theorized, and this is only a thing we can guess, is that we don't know what Aoko does in the present day. What we know is that she's essentially on a journey of some sorts. She's a character that often appears and disappears at random intervals. You can never really find her, and our guess is that she's sort of gone universal in what she's doing. Now, this is partially because we've seen certain characters, like the Servant Universe, that have sort of implied that Aoko has some sort of connection to this. We believe that Aoko might be time traveling or universe hopping, or like doing something like that. She's like
Musashi.
She's like Musashi, yeah. She's going across the realities, fixing things up, and this is actually something we've seen from other magicians. Now, But as another thing we have to mention is that there's a big distinction between Aoko to other mages in the Nasuverse, is that Aoko is not a mage as much as she is a magician. Now, as I said, there's a difference between magecraft and magic in the Typhoon universe. And basically, magic is the highest end of sort of mystical ability that you could ever possibly have in the Nasuverse. Like, this is something that bends the fabric of reality itself. It breaks the rules and makes the impossible comprehensible. Like, this is something beyond what anyone could ever do. This is one of the most powerful abilities anyone could ever do or ever have. Now, if you remember Zelrich, if you remember from the original Fate Stay Knight, he is the second magician. There are only five magicians.
Kaleidoscope Man, right?
Yeah, the Kaleidoscope Man.
Exactly. Yeah, Kaleidoscope Man. Okay, there you go.
He charges everyone's NP gauge, and his whole deal is that he has the second magic, which allows him to sort of travel the universe and like sit in his own plane of existence. He basically has infinite energy.
Ooh.
So yeah, that's why the Kaleidoscope CE gives you a 80% NP gauge or 100%, is that he has infinite energy. So he represents having infinite enery.
Then why is he only gonna give it to me once? Like, come on, every turn.
That's a bit of a Zelrich. I have my own internal headcanon that Zelrich might be Nasu's self-insert, but that's just a funny thing I have in my head. But yes, there are only 5 magicians. The 4th one is missing. The first one has passed away, but their magic still exists in the world. The 3rd one is actually the Einsburns. It's the Holy Grail War itself. It's Heaven's Feel. That's the 3rd magic, which basically is the ability to transfer the soul, and that's a whole other lore explanation. But essentially, Aoko has the 5th magic, and that makes her one of the most insane characters in the Nasuverse. But we don't know what it is. We have theories on what it is, but we do not know what it is exactly, and I don't think we ever will at this rate. And that's okay, because
what she can do is it's pretty impressive. So let's
it's kind of insane.
Yeah, let's go over Aoko's kit. We'll start with the first skill, Magic Bullet Charging. It grants her a Magic Bullet buff, and that increases her own attack because she consumes all of her magic bullets when attacking with her extra card. She also gets a nice little bit of critical stars. So you said you thought she was going to be an archer because she fights with these magic bullets that she makes.
Yep. Yeah, so basically, Aoko's main form of magecraft is just like, basically, her magical ring is like sort of a revolver, and she can shoot magical bullets through that revolver. And as a regular magus, like, she basically just charges that ring and she shoots them out like a gun. That's basically her main thing. Is, as I said before, Aoko is a magician, but she's not very good mage. She's actually pretty bad mage, so this is all she's good at doing. The only thing she's good at is shooting bullets.
She's a wizard with a gun.
She is a one-trick pony. That's basically her best aspect, is she can shoot things, and she shoots things very well.
Oh yeah, but don't they say do not fear the man who has practiced 1,000 moves, fear the man who has practiced one move 1,000 times?
Exactly, and that's the whole deal about Aoko, is that she's really good at shooting things.
Nice. And speaking of being good at shooting things, let's take a look at her second skill, Magic Circuit Rotation. These skill effects will be removed when redacted. We'll get to that when we do the Noble Phantasm. But it grants her a nice little buff where she gets to charge everyone's NP gauge every turn for 3 turns, and give everyone critical stars every turn for 3 turns. So is she able to actually charge people with her magic circuits in Mahoyo? Is that a thing? Is that possible? Does she make other magic better?
No, I don't think it is, but I think there's something that they did for, like, sort of gameplay purposes. My first thought when I saw this skill is, hey, isn't this just a way better version of Helena's first skill?
Yes.
It's just, it is the same skill, but it's just way better.
Yeah, let's power creep Helena more. I'm sure that'll definitely help the new players.
It's kind of tragic. But there is the caveat that the buff goes away after redacted, and it has a very high cooldown, but it's still a very good skill. Like,
yeah, it's still, the fight's probably going to be over.
this is a generally 60 NP gauge by the end of 3 turns and a 30 star bomb over time. That's solid. I can't complain about it. Like,
Yeah,
I saw a lot of people saying this is like a mediocre skill. I'm like, no.
No, you gotta
I
look at it.
do not agree with that.
Nice. And then we got Alco's third skill, Back to Those Days Once More. She picks one ally and she turns them into the protagonist. And I'm not actually being facetious with this, everyone watching this video. She gives them a buff called Protagonist Correction. They get HP regeneration, they get critical damage boost, they get boosts to all of their cards, they get complete immunity to, like, demerits and stuff like that, so they very much do become the protagonist.
Oh yeah,
Tell me more about
this is a very, very good skill, and I've been thinking about a lot. The main thing I see this being used at is with Mori Nagayoshi from the Gouda Gouda collab. Because if you remember, that guy has a demerit where whenever he attacks, he decreases his own defense as well. So I'm just thinking, wait, if we use this buff on him, we can stack infinite attack buffs.
Ooh.
With no demerit. And I'm like, isn't that going to be extremely powerful?
You know who else is going to be really good on? Hijikata.
Yes! Oh my god. Because the biggest issue with a lot of those servants is like there are a few servants like Okita Jet Soji that have like demerits, or like again Mori Nagayoshi. I feel like he has one of the biggest demerits in the game is that whenever he attacks, he has a defense debuff. Is that this skill basically just prevents that. You will not have demerits to your skills or NP. Yume Ren will also benefit from this a lot. Like she's just not going to have an issue anymore. But there is one exception, and that is when it comes to instant death. So if you have a servant like Arash where their demerit involves them themselves for their Noble Phantasm, that will not work on them. And
sometimes you gotta make a heroic sacrifice.
I don't know what to think about it, but we'll get to that when we'll get to that.
Don't worry, that thing is next. That thing is next.
That is something we'll have to talk about in the future.
And of course, we got to talk about the Noble Phantasm. So let's go ahead.
Should we talk about the passives?
Oh, I guess we should talk about the passives.
She has some pretty insane passives.
Yeah, let's talk about. We won't necessarily talk about all of them. We'll talk about a few of the exciting ones. So she does have existence outside the domain, which I need existence outside the domain. That's basically a foreigner must-have.
Free crits.
Yeah, free crits all the time. She's got Magician, which ends up increasing her debuff, instant kill, and buff removal resistance, and it converts all of her invincibility to anti-purge.
Yep. She just has soul defense.
Yeah, so she gets pure anti-purge defense, absolutely ridiculous.
If you slap Castoria with her, she's just never gonna die.
Basically, yeah, it is absolutely insane. And we'll talk about her other two things, but first we gotta show those Noble Phantasms. So now we're showing the Noble Phantasms. I will.
Before that, there is one thing I do want to say is that I do want to mention that she has Magus passives because again she's a Magus, but they're at very low ranking because again she's actually a really bad Magus. And one thing that's really funny to me is that her profile when you unlock her bond says that the reason she's bad at territory creation is because she's poor, and the reason her item construction is low is because her method of constructing items, quote unquote, is to just steal from her sister.
Close enough. Close enough.
It's just really funny to me. It's like life hack, steal from your sister. That's how you get through it. It's like, alright, fair enough.
Alright, now I'm showing the Noble Phantasms. You can't stop me.
Yes.
Go, editor, which is me!
Timeless Work. Severe Break Slider!
this is like one of the best Final Phantasms in the game. Can I just say that right off the bat?
Yes, absolutely. It is ridiculous. So, the first thing you all saw was Unfinished Blue, Retrograde Milky Way. This makes Aoko go Super Saiyan, and when she goes Super Saiyan, her Buster performance goes up for the rest of the fight. Her extra attack bonus goes up for the rest of the fight. Her active skill buffs from her second skill go away, but this also grants her the ability to hit AoE attacks off of her Buster card and her extra attack. Now, disclaimer, transforming does remove one of her Buster cards and converts it into an arts card. So she goes from QAABB to QAAAB. But honestly, from what I've been seeing online, it doesn't really matter, does it, MP?
Actually, really, because and the main thing is that Aoko very much will benefit from having a lot of arts chains, and as you'll soon see, she is definitely more of an offensive spammer when she becomes Super Aoko. And let me just say this right off the bat: Super Aoko is a term that she probably gave herself for this game. It's really funny. It's just like because we don't actually get a name for her super form in the story itself, but Aoko calling herself Super Aoko is just so in character. So I'm just gonna headcanon is that she just dubbed herself Super Aoko. It's like, yeah, that's what I'm called now.
I will 100% opt to believe that. And then the second thing you all saw, she only gets this after she transforms into Super Aoko. It's called Earthlight Starbow. It ignores invincibility and ignores defense, so nobody is getting out of this one. It hits every single enemy, and if Super Aoko has any magic bullet buffs, well, it's going to go ahead and eat those to increase its own power. It also reduces all of the enemy's defense for 3 turns. Now, this ignore invincibility, this ignore defense, and this reducing defense all activates before damage is dealt. So she hits all of her enemies with this massive debuff and then just absolutely obliterates them with Earthlight Starbow. Now, how cool is Earthlight Starbow in Mahoyo?
Oh, it's so cool. Here's the thing, is that Earthlight Starbow in Mahoyo is actually performed by Aoko in her regular state. But when she was in that state, she has to do a lot of setup, like as typical Magecraft does. Like you have to charge that, you have to plan things, you have to make sure things align up. But as Super Aoko, and this is completely in line with what she can do, is that she can just do it right off the bat. Like I said, Aoko is really good at shooting things, and this Noble Phantasm shows that at its full potential, is that she has a big laser, and you know what? If you're good at one thing, you might as well go all in, and she can go all in. The fact that this is an arts NP also just extends the fact that this is very much something that you're meant to fire off repeatedly. And if I get some Castoria on there, this is going to be really, really strong.
Oh, absolutely. I can't believe that she shamelessly copied it from Zenitsu 10 years before Demon Slayer was even a manga. I can't believe it. Nasu's going to have to go to jail for fraud after that. My gosh.
No.
Overall, I think Aoko's wild. I think Aoko is just wild from a gameplay standpoint. I feel like if anything, based on all of the things that her skills have been set up with, the Foreigner class, in addition to being a narrative choice, just kind of was something made to like keep her in check mechanically. Because
you shouldn't forget that Aoko actually, like, when she becomes Super Aoko, her Noble Phantasm is not the only thing that changes. It's her entire kit and character.
Yes.
Which, to be fair, I think works in canon as well. Because,
for sure.
So, to explain what Super Aoko is from a lore standpoint, basically, Aoko, as we summon her, is her state in Mahoyo. So she's young, she's relatively inexperienced. Super Aoko is basically her taking the usage of the 5th magic to basically supercharge her own body to her completed state. Now, this is like Aoko when she's already perfected herself as a magus. So if you've seen Hunter x Hunter, I won't say too much, but It's basically the same deal. If you get what I mean, you get what I mean.
Oh,
It's
I get exactly what you mean.
This is Alco in her prime in the future. This is something that she can just do and call on, not whenever she needs to, but when things hit the fan, she can become Super Alco and she becomes an entirely different person. She becomes herself in the future. Now,
She's truly reached the apex of perfection.
Exactly. And this also changes her own stats. Her stat spread becomes offensive. She trades in her HP for much higher attack. She becomes from a man attribute servant to a star attribute servant, so she becomes actually immune to Enema Elish damage. She nullifies Enema Elish, which is very impressive and very useful. And
seems
generally,
reasonable.
just as a whole, yeah, her stats all change. She becomes an entirely different servant at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been for those watching this in the future, I've been flashing how Alco's skills have been changing in the background as we've been talking about this, and just things like, you know, being able to instantly charge her NP gauge, being able to instantly eat her NP gauge to make her buffed up cards even stronger, reducing everyone's skill cooldown, like basically doubling her output of magic bullets. Like when you were talking about her, like truly like pushing herself into the future and into having complete mastery of things. This is it. This is absolutely ridiculous. It's almost
very
like
it's very much what she displays in the visual novel. When she becomes the Super Alco state, she can make like essentially bullets without even thinking. Like they literally just spawn out of nowhere, which is even introduced in her passives. Like they just come to her. She doesn't have to put any effort into making them anymore. She's just like, they're just part of her, and they're just natural because that's just her power at this point.
A Goku going Super Saiyan moment. It is exactly what it is. It is to go even further beyond, and I gotta say, I'm here. I'm here for things like that. I'm here for things like that.
Honestly,
I am excited to see what Alco is going to bring to the table, and I'm kind of afraid as to what we're going to have to fight to have a need for Super Alco on our team. Because we fought some pretty rough stuff.
Dude, at this point, I don't know what, like, the Master is gonna... I don't know what Ritsuko's ever gonna have any problems. He has Arcuate and Alco on his side. Those are literally the two most powerful characters in all of the Nasuverse at this point. Whatever's coming at us, I don't think we have anything to be afraid of.
And that's the horrifying thing, because that's definitely what you'll think, but then we'll get hit with something else. But Alco is not the only person we're getting on our team. In fact, you might not even get her on your team if you absolutely fail the gacha and fall face first. But you will be getting this other dude on your team from the event freebie, and this is Shizuki Sojiro. And man, this initial image for him, when I think of like picture a visual novel protagonist in my head, it is this man. Like, no prompting. I've never seen this man before, and I feel like I've pictured him in my mind's eye several times already. So tell us a little bit about Shizuki.
So, funnily enough, this is actually a bit of a misconception. Sojiro is not the main protagonist. Aoko is actually the main protagonist. Mahoyo is a very interesting visual novel in that it does not actually have a proper protagonist. It has three. Mainly if you follow these two, though. There's no particular perspective you follow, but mostly throughout most of the story, you follow Aoko. Sojiro is sort of a, like, he's in the equivalent to a visual novel heroine, if anything. However, his contributions to Mahoyo are probably some of the most important, and they home in most of the biggest themes of this story. Now, when you look at Sojiro, you think, oh, it's just a guy. It's just a regular guy. But the moment you meet him, to the moment you first talk about him, you quickly begin to realize that, oh, he's not normal. He's very much kind of odd. And I don't mean in like a power set way. He's actually the most normal Type Moon main character in the entirety of the Nasuverse. This guy is just a dude. But
he's built
the way he thinks and the way he functions as an individual is very much on his own wavelength that's compared to the rest of humanity. Now, there's sort of a meme that Sojiro is the mountain boy, and he's like a feral dog, and that's the thing. Sojiro is a man who was raised in the mountains away from civilization for a majority of his life. This is a boy who has never felt technology. He doesn't know common societal norms. And a lot of what people find are normal, he has basically no exposure to. And that's what makes him very unique as an individual. Like, this is the kind of guy who doesn't know the difference between a window and a door. Because to him, they're both just openings. Like,
It's just a hole in the wall. Wow.
It's just a hole in the wall. He doesn't know. Like, he genuinely does not know a lot of what we find are normal, and that's the whole deal about him, is that he is the most normal character in terms of abilities and stuff, but he is the most abnormal character as a person. Like, he is so far out there, and that's kind of the entire point of Mahoyo, is that the mundane sometimes can be the most surprisingly unique, or like the most special individuals out there that you'll meet. I won't go too much into what Sojiro does in the visual novel, but he is a normal person. Like, he is very physically fit, as you can see in his ascensions.
It's ridiculous.
He lifts. Like,
the man has an 8-pack. The man is shredded.
He is massively shredded, and that is reflected in the visual novel too. That's a point. He is ripped beyond belief. However, that's it. He's just a guy. And even as a servant, and this is something that I find is very interesting, because most servants, even when they're regular guys, when they're summoned, they get some sort of power buff. Like, for instance, Li Shuwen, he's a martial artist, but when he's summoned as a servant, he gets...
kill you in a single punch, leap tall buildings, like...
He can destroy rocks and all that. He's like a super-powered version of the historical man that was Li Shuwen, but Sojiro explicitly mentions in the event that he doesn't feel any different, that he's just a regular guy, and I feel like that's intentional, because that would make him an exception to the norm. And as we see in his animations, Sojiro doesn't actually do much fighting, which is correct. He's not a fighter. He is just a regular guy. And that's the entire point of him, is that he's just a regular human being, just like you, just like me. He's just a bit more ripped. And
but why is he a berserker, then?
Out there. That's an excellent question, and I don't actually know the answer to that. I would have expected him to be an assassin, honestly, but my guess is because for gameplay purposes, a berserker might be more fitting for his kit. But
true,
that would the case?
Probably make sense. And by the way, gang, if you haven't guessed, this is going to be a theme with all the Mahoyo characters. His kit is cracked. His kit is freaking ridiculous.
It's not only just ridiculous, but something we've never seen before. And like, if Aoko wasn't obviously enough, we've never seen anything like Aoko, and we've never seen anything like Sojiro. These are one-of-a-kind units being released.
First skill, Pilgrimage Away from Death and Killing. This grants him Arts and Buster performance increases. Pretty milquetoast, right? But if you read that third thing, it grants himself complete death evasion for 5 times, and it lasts for 3 turns. This means if he was killed by an enemy's attack, this man does not die when he is killed. That is literally what is happening here.
Yep, he just evades death. And my guess on that is just because he's able to sort of like have like instinctual... So as I said before, Sojiro is a guy who was raised in the mountains. He has very honed instincts. He's more closer to an animal, like a dog or a bear, ironically, considering he hates those things, but than he is to a regular human. But I suspect that's like sort of a reference to how he's very based on his own instincts, and he knows how to survive when things get real. Like, this is a man who is very much familiar with life or death situations. He's used to that.
So it doesn't necessarily frighten him as much.
Oh, this guy has no fear. He just straight up does not know fear. Because he's used to that. Like, in Mahoyo, there are multiple scenes where he just acts so nonchalantly to some of the most worrying things that in a regular scenario you would probably be terrified. And this is something that's core to his character, is that he's always terrified. because that's how he has to be to survive. That when you're in the wilderness, you have to always be on your guard, and you have to always be ready for your life to just end from an ambush or whatever, a disaster. He's always terrified, and that's why he's just used to it. It's just it's numb to him. It's second nature.
Oh yeah, to quote a deep theme from like Fear and indie game shout out to Fear and Hunger. Fear is like one of the most primal but most like understandable feelings any creature can feel, and it is instinctively what ties everything together. Be it like man, be it creature, be it god, everything feels fear. And sounds like Shizuki has learned to really harness that.
Yes, that's the thing, is that Shizuki, when you look at him, he is the most innocent and seemingly airheaded individual you will ever meet. However, he is far more perceptive than you would ever realize. But as again, to him, the idea of the city is actually far more terrifying to him than the forest, because he doesn't know anything that's going on. He doesn't know what a car is. He doesn't know what a telephone is. This is all magic to him. He's like, what is all of this? This is all an alien society he can barely comprehend, but he's still living in it.
Why is this box talking to me?
Yeah, he's just very adaptable and very. He takes everything he sees in stride, because that's just how he learned to live. His brain generally just works differently to what any of ours does, because he's lived in a completely different society. Well, in that he'd never lived in a society.
And we do live in a society. Insert Joker meme. His second skill, I've been staring at it. I'm having a hard time rationalizing that in my head. This is called Borrowing from Chakravartin to Palanka at Will. I'm sure I probably butchered something from that. But what this thing does is it multiplies the value of his NP gauge by 50 to 100%. So if I'm understanding this correctly from when I've been reading it, whatever it already is gets multiplied. So if you've got a solid base to work with, you're going to get a pretty ridiculous NP charge. If you've not got a lot of NP to work with, you're not really going to get a lot off of this. This also buffs his own critical damage at base, and it buffs it further the lower his HP is. So the closer he is to death, the more, I guess we would say, afraid he is of his own future demise. And it ends up working nicely in tandem with his first skill, I gotta say.
Yeah, with the death evasion, this is going to be very, very easy to take advantage of. And basically, the way his NP charge works is it's sort of like Oberon. So if you have a 50% NP gauge, let's assume you're at level 10, and this is 100%. So basically, his 50% NP gauge will be doubled to 100%. If he has 100%, it'll become 200%, and if he has 150%, it'll be 300%. Perfect. Now, for Sojo, this is actually a very useful thing, because, as we'll soon see, this is a character you want to get as high overcharge as you possibly can. So if you have, say, 150% NP gauge, that is golden. That is perfect.
Finally, a servant specifically designed for multiple overcharge NP gauge.
Yes, and this NP charge makes it so much easier to get it. And another thing that helps him probably get his NP gauge up is his third skill, which you can talk about.
Yes, this is near eternal asceticism in a pagoda to learn 100 tricks rank A. And that is a mouthful, but it also does a lot. It grants him a delayed buff. And this delayed buff allows him to just pick which command card he wants, kind of like Summer BB's command card lock, but you pick what you want. And then after you pick the card type that you want, that ends up going up to a 20 to 30% boost for the next turn. So being able to just pick what card you want and being able to just lock in, what?
Yeah.
What?
It's basically like Artoria's second skill after buff, but on crack. So if you need crit stars, pop this up for crit. You got a quick chain. You've got a full crit star. So you need arts, and you can get a full NP charge right away and a arts chain to high heaven. Or if you just want pure damage, you can get the Buster and deal as much damage as you want. This is just This is
at
something
level
we've never seen
10?
before, but the potential is insane.
This is on a 6-turn cooldown at level 10. That's not nearly as long as I thought they would give this.
Yeah, no, this is a very useful thing to have. Like, it's very much something that allows Sojiro to basically have a turn where he can just do what he wants. And if you have him on a solo, this is going to be really, really useful.
I've heard he seems like a solo king, and it seems like not only all this stuff in his kit, but I'm looking at one of his passives right now. Good Luck Charm gives him immunity to Terror, Confusion, and Skill Seal?
Yes, this is something that Aoko gave him, and it's actually it's really funny. So, basically, one thing that Aoko does in the game is basically give him or try to perform hypnosis on him to sort of erase his fear. Little did Aoko know, fearing things or not fearing things is basically just second nature to him. Like I said, Sojiro is just so used to being like having his guard up that he doesn't realize that he has his guard up. Like, he just doesn't understand fear at this point. So Sojiro does not understand fear in a conventional sense because he's always feeling that way. He's always got his guard up, and so Aoko thinks she hypnotized him to feel that way. No, Sojiro's just always like this. And really, the big thing that Sojiro is like, the reason this charm really worked is that Sojiro was, when this happened, he was like, oh, Aoko actually needs me now. I should help her. I can finally be of use to her, and that's the entire thought process behind it, is that he gets to help this cute girl.
And you tell me he's not a true visual novel protagonist. I refuse to believe that.
He actually doesn't understand romance, that's the thing.
Oh man, what a champion.
He is detached from typical human emotions. He when asked if he likes Aoko, he like her. Completely clueless to what that implies.
Like her?
Yeah, I like her.
But do you like her?
That's a question I don't think we'll ever get an answer to. But yeah, Sojiro is a quirky guy, and I like him a lot. And
I know
these
you.
skills.
I know you like him a lot, and that's why I feel like his Noble Phantasm has been especially crushing for you. Obligatory break, so I
we finally have to talk about. Okay, so everyone on the planet saw this Noble Phantasm, and they either thought one of two things.
He gets Thanos snapped.
He does get Thanos snapped, but a lot of people assume that this is something that is in the visual novel and is replication of a certain thing that he does in the game. That is not the case. It's a huge misconception that's already been applied. No, that is actually his extra attack. This is something we have never seen before. Ooh. This is something that we do not know anything about. We do not know the context. We do not know the story behind this. However, what we do know, and what some people have noticed, is that this Noble Phantasm takes place in what seems to be snowy ruins. And if you go back to a few Type Moon lore books, especially the Mahoyo lore book, you'll find Aoko Aozaki's character bio, and it says her decisive battle takes place in snowy ruins. Mm. So there is a huge theory that this Noble Phantasm is a snapshot to Aoko's most important battle of her entire life, which is saying a lot.
Wow!
Because
so
again,
Nasu's really teasing here.
This is a magician we were talking about. If this is the most important battle of her entire life,
this is like Orc tier.
This scene has a lot of weight behind it, and I can't say too much without spoiling what we know about Mahoyo already. There are reasons and a lot of concerns we have behind this. However, what I can say is the fact that there is absolutely no music playing during this Noble Phantasm.
I did notice
the fact it is no music. Not even background music. They silence the game for it. they completely silence the background music for this Noble Phantasm. It shuts off any music that's playing. And the name itself is censored. You can guess what it is, but it is censored. And after he uses his Noble Phantasm, he disappears. We all have a bunch of fear after this Noble Phantasm. I am terrified. I saw this for the first time, and I was haunted. Like, this is a Noble Phantasm that has kept me up at night ever since I saw it. I cannot unthink of it.
Just like, Nasu, how you massacred my boy like this? What is happening?
We cannot come to any solid conclusions about this, but what I can say for certain is that this is a Noble Phantasm from the Mahoyo sequels that we do not have. And we cannot say what it is about or what it is truly, like, what it represents until the full story comes out. All I can say is that the Noble Phantasm has a bio, and it says that it is a singular blow that is unavoidable. It is a blow that basically goes against mystery itself. Now, if you don't know, mystery is like the opposite of science in a way. It's like it draws power from not knowing how it works. Sojo is basically the antithesis to any magi. It's like the more barriers or protections you may have,
Barriers?
he can bypass that. Barriers, yes. He can bypass that. He ignores whatever things you have in your sleeve. This one punch from him is going to land. That's final. And
even Li Shuwen would be put to shame by this punch. It sounds like.
Even in this bio, it does not explain what this Noble Phantasm does. It is stated to be an anti-world Noble Phantasm, but to a target of one individual.
Ooh.
And it is which is a high ranking. This is anti-world, a Noble Phantasm. The range is one human being. The power is stated to be immeasurable, and we get no explanation for it. The only thing we get is, allegedly, the only people who know what truly happens was the person who was driven to this choice, and the person who owns him. So, based on what we know on Mahoyo,
I've got to clarify for people who have not played Mahoyo. To give you context of some other anti-world Noble Phantasms that exist, Hanging Gardens of Babylon, Aya, Abby's Qlifoth Rhizome is anti-world Noble Phantasm, and freaking Koyanskaya's Noble Phantasms too are all anti-world, and this man's Noble Phantasm. Let me just give the best example. Maha Pralaya is an anti-world Noble Phantasm, and by Nasu's ranking system, that singular punch that Shizuki just did is Maha Pralaya tier.
Yes, but it's only range for one singular person.
That is absurd. That is crazy, man.
It is insane. And the thing is, even though we've seen it, we don't know how it works because they don't explain how it works. Again, it's all we are told is that the only people who know how it works is him and the person who owns him, which is Aoko. So these are the only two characters that will ever know what this Noble Phantasm really is. We probably will never even get an answer. We could possibly even read the visual novel, and we might not get an answer. Who knows?
Ooh,
but
I mean,
at this point,
it's better than knowing.
All I can say is that this is definitely something for the future, and something that I cannot give any knowledge on, because we just do not have that story yet. Nasu has given us the biggest spoiler, but also the biggest tease possible, because while it is a spoiler, what I can also say is that this is really good advertising, because the entire point of this event is to get people talking about Mahoyo, right? Oh boy, did this get people talking.
Oh, for sure. He might as well have just ended the Noble Phantasm as he faded away with "Purchase Mahoyo now available on Steam."
Yeah. Like, this is very, very big sequel bait because I'm like, I need to know what's behind this. Like, I didn't like, I wanted the Mahoyo sequels, but I did not want them as much as until I saw this Noble Phantasm. But let's talk about what exactly this Noble Phantasm does.
Yeah, what this thing does is, oh god, so it ignores invincibility, it ignores damage cut, it deals extra damage if enemies have their defense up, it increases his attack, and then it also Thanos snaps the man out of existence, which Alco's thing we talked about before, the protagonist thing, this won't prevent that, which I remember you specifically saying was like, oh, Nasu, you absolute monster. But you can guts your way out of this.
Worrying.
You can guts your way out of this. There's hope.
So, ironically, Aoko might not be able to save Sojiro, but Iris Veal can.
Yes.
So that is one interesting thing. And another interesting thing, from a gameplay standpoint, is that this is the only Noble Phantasm in the entire game to have an ignored damage cut. There is no other servant in the entire game that has any effect like this. This is unique to this Noble Phantasm only, and I personally hope it remains unique to this Noble Phantasm only, because that seems to be the point of this Noble Phantasm, is that this is something nobody understands and nobody can replicate. This is exclusive to Sojiro.
It seems fun. I just think it's neat.
This is a very niche Noble Phantasm, but the amount of utility that you can possibly do with this is insane. Like, whether you are a new player or an experienced player, this is a welfare you don't want to skip.
Oh, for sure. This is I will straight up say this is one of the best freebie characters that has ever been released in this game. Like, he does everything you want a Berserker to do.
I fully agree with. Dude, Mr. Iori, I did not expect we would be getting another welfare that would be as good, if not better than him. This is say what you want about the amount of content we're getting, we are getting the best freebies we have ever gotten in the game.
Oh, for sure. I would personally hold this up there with Kagatora Nagao. I think Kagatora is absurd. Wow.
Yeah, it's been great. I can't say I have any problems with Sojiro's kit. Like, I will definitely be getting him. I will be grailing him. In fact, heck, I am kind of tempted to bring him to 100 because I'll just say it. I did not expect this going into this visual, but Sojiro ended up my favorite character, and this is a very common thing for Mahoyo readers, is that most people get into Mahoyo for Aoko and Alice, and while there are a lot of people who do end up still loving them, a lot of people also surprisingly find Sojiro to become their favorite character, and that's the entire point of him, is that he is very unassuming. You look at him, he's like, oh, there's nothing particularly interesting about him. He becomes the most interesting character of the entire visual novel, specifically because he's not interesting. That's and that's kind of the main message of Mahoyo. I won't go too deep into it. That's more worth for a Mahoyo review in the future that I'll do. But Sojiro is a very special character. He is one of the most well-written characters in the entirety of Type Moon. I genuinely think he's one of Nasu's magnum opuses. Like, this is a character only he can write, and he wrote him perfectly. I have no complaints with Sojiro as a character, and likewise, I have no complaints with him as a sun-level servant. I will be getting him, and I will be grailing him, and he will be my son.
And we will leave it at that, because now we gotta talk about Alice, because this is my favorite looking character. Like, of the three things I've seen, this is the character I think looks the coolest. So Alice, her kit's out. At the time of us recording this video, she is not summonable in the game. She's definitely going to be. Maybe even by the time I finish editing this and putting it up, she will be summonable.
Tomorrow, I think.
Or tomorrow?
Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
Wednesday, I think. Wednesday. So it'll be soon. It'll be soon.
Okay, good. So, Alice. She's a caster, which we've got a caster from Mahoyo. There better be some sort of legend which is Holy right?
Honestly, I was surprised we didn't get more casters. Honestly, because again, most of the mystical characters in this are all they're magi.
Yeah, for sure.
What can you do besides make them a caster? I guess with Alco you can make them an alien.
I guess, yeah. You gotta do something. You gotta do something. So let's talk Alice's first skill. And I will admit, going into this, I don't have the context, but the unfortunately named Diddle Diddle Banquet of the Night. So Diddle Diddle Banquet of the Night is a quick and arts performance boost, charges her MP gauge by 30 to 50%, and grants the entire party a pretty substantial Noble Phantasm generation boost. So, like, is this just a thing she can do? She can... Tell me things.
Okay, so context time. So basically, all of Alice's magecraft is based on like fairy tales and like kids lullabies and stuff. So the name Diddle Diddle is in reference to like Hey Diddle Diddle, the song like Hey Diddle Diddle, the captain over the moon.
The internet has ruined me. That's all I can say.
No, that's fine. But basically, yeah, Diddle Diddle is this blue thing that she has to plant into the ground in order to utilize her magecraft. So this is like her setup. I thought this would be her Noble Phantasm, and to be fair, I think it is her Noble Phantasm, but they're treating it as a skill, sort of like how Achilles' Noble Phantasms are all treated as skills.
Yeah.
I think that's very much the same case with Alice, because Alice is very much in canon a mage guy with a bunch of different abilities. And to use any of those abilities, she basically has to plant Diddle Diddle in the ground to summon all of them. And what Diddle Diddle does is basically it turns the area around her into sort of like a reality marble, but better. So, like, reality marbles are like a temporary thing. Diddle Diddle is not temporary. She can use it for as long as she wants, and as long as she has like magical energy around her. It basically turns the field into her own playing field, and whatever she wants to do, like, she can make it happen. This is what gives her... It's like one of the biggest sources of mystery that any...
Yeah, I'm reading that this just like is a cheat that like rips away reality over on the wiki. Like, just it's like she's just like, you're in my room now.
This is an ability that basically strips logic away from the world. It goes, nope, this is my world now. I can do what I want. And it allows Alice to basically use all of her magecraft at their fullest potential and use them to begin with. And she has a bunch of abilities, and her magecraft, as we'll call them from now on, they're all called this thing called ploys. Ploys are basically sort of like familiars, and they are what she's able to do. She can summon all different types of ploys, and they're all based on some sort of fairy tale and some sort of like again, like children's
some sort of children's story, fairy tale. Because I did recognize this next ability she has here, the Thames Troll, Giant of the Bridge. That one I recognize, and this is an attack and defense boost for her, and it goes up more on like a forest, city, or dark field. And unfortunately, I'm not seeing anything where she gets to change the field type. So Nasu and Lasengal have hurt me once again by not allowing a servant to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so this is actually a very interesting thing, and I've talked about this a bit on my own time. Basically, Thames Troll is one of Alice's great three. Now, this is going to require even more explanation. So, as I've explained, Alice's abilities are ploys. She has a bunch of ploys, and in her animation, she basically summons them all as her regular attacks. Like, there's the two piglets, there's Humpty Dumpty, there's the six singing chocolates.
Tweedledee and Tweedledum, I see as one.
Yeah, they're all just her regular attacks. However, her biggest ploys are the Great Three, and they're basically some of the most powerful magecraft you will ever find in the planet. Thames Troll is the one she uses the most, and also her weakest of the Great Three, but still rather powerful. Now, this is used as her extra attack, interestingly enough. And what the Thames Troll is, it's basically like this giant hulking, like, monster. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a construct. It's a golem, yeah. And the Thames Troll usually can only be summoned next to a river. However, what counts as a river can really depend. Like, a forest requires water. There's water going under the soil or there's water that goes through the soil into the trees. That's flowing water. That's a river.
That's pushing it.
Yeah, no, but that's just what it counts for Tame's troll, is that she's able to use them in forests and in cities. Like, in a city, you have drainage pipes, you have flowing water. That counts.
Oh, a sewer's a river? Oh, man.
Yeah, anything that's flowing water, quote unquote, counts as a river. And normally, Alice is only able to summon Tame's troll when next to any of these rivers. Like, if it's outside of these scenarios, she just straight up can't summon her. So, like, summon it. So, like, hypothetically, if you put Alice in a desert, she cannot use Tame's troll. So I guess there's like a bit of mercy here in that you still do get some effects when you have them, when you have the skill used regularly. However, to like fit with the lore, you get the skills at its full potential if you use it in the scenarios that it's meant to be only able to use it. So the forest, city, darkness, battlefield, that kind of stuff. I do think it is a bit of a shame from a gameplay standpoint. However, what I can say is that Forest, City, and Darkness are very, very common in comparison to something like Oceanside. So
Void Sea. Rest in peace.
Yeah, Nemo. Void Sea. That's like never gonna happen. It's like, I'm not gonna be able to use this skill. So at least the effects are common. So you'll have your chances to use it.
For sure. Now, for this next one, I feel like we have to talk about her passive skill Yumina before we can give her third skill actual context. So Yumina, and I'm just going to lead right into the third skill after we do this. So Yumina, she gets instant kill guts, so she gets guts specifically when things try to instant kill her. And then she gets a HP recovery thing when Guts is activated. She also
this applies for all Guts, for the record.
It's so all Guts. That's even better.
It's all. And if you have like Asclepius or Iris Beale, instead of whatever HP value that they revive you at, it's always 2,000 HP.
It's always 2,000. Oh, so it makes even it will make an even 1 HP Guts CE like restore 2,000. Am I reading that correctly?
Exactly. Yes, excellent. At least as far as I'm aware. So that's like really useful.
It also grants her this thing called Robin Counter. Now, Robin Counter is used in her third skill, Lost Robin Rondo, Robin's Murder, rank E. Now, she needs Robin counters in order to use this. This is a 10 to 20% NP charge, and you have to use a Robin counter, but this grants her a Naruto substitution jutsu. Am I correct in this?
Okay, so this is, as she would put it, her worst ploy of all time. Spoilers, it's not.
I will disagree.
Yeah, it's her words, not mine. But it's, as I said, it's not. It's actually her best. But what it basically does is it allows Robin, which is the bird that she's always with, to become like a duplicate and basically just take the hit for her. And Robin cannot die. He is immortal. So whenever Robin quote unquote dies, he'll be fine, and he'll take the hit for Alice. And that's basically his purpose. That Alice substitutes herself for Robin, and Robin just takes the hit. And it's basically an invincibility or a solid defense skill that can't be removed.
Yeah, and at rank 10, it's on a 2-turn cooldown.
It is on a turn cooldown. So if you play things right, Alice might not die. Like, you can, yes, you can only use this 13 times.
Oh, that's all.
How many times in a fight does your fight last up to 13 turns?
Look, only if I'm trying to do a Qinshi Wang or Jeanne d'Arc meme run will my fight last longer than 13 turns.
Exactly. So it's like, you will have plenty of times to use this skill. And while it is only 13 times, that's, in my opinion, more than enough.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and the reason Alice actually calls Robin her worst ploy is that it's the one that doesn't. She can't control him. He's always there, and he's very British. It's really funny. Oh
no, that's the thing. He's British. That's why she hates it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, she is also like half British, but. Robin is like straight up like a very loud, sort of like a loud pub guy, and he's just really annoying, and that's like, he's really funny.
Oh, I get here with Robin.
You also want to crush him with your own hands. That's like the whole deal about him, is that he is the funniest character that you want to absolutely murder, but you can't kill him.
Oh,
And that's
man.
why Alice hates him. That's why Alice considers him her worst ploy, is because she hates him and she can't get rid of him.
But he's not even where her defenses end, even on top of that, because she gets to just reduce Noble Phantasm damage by 400 and reduce debuff damage with Folklore Defense?
It's even better. It's
damage taken except from Noble Phantasm.
Yes, so she just has a permanent 400 damage cut. Permanently.
And those debuffs, I imagine sometimes like it'll just tick down and she just won't take damage, depending on the enemy.
Yeah, like if you bring her to a lot of like potentially assassins, she's gonna be very, very tanky. So if you play your cards right, Alice might be one of the most, if not the most survivable caster you will ever get in the game. Like she's basically immortal.
Incredible. Wow. Yeah. And we've only got one Noble Phantasm of Alice's we can talk about. I'm gonna show both versions. I'm going to assume they kind of both do the same thing, but remember, this is just an assumption. We're not working with all the data at the time of recording. So, video go!
いいわ。ごっこ遊びをしましょう。太古の神秘、笑う月面。こぼれ落ちて舞台は燃える。共に消えて、スマイル、クラッドスマイル。アイス落としちゃった。ならもういらないわよね。みんな忘れてしまいましょう。何もかも。
Okay, video has gone. So grade 3 flat snark. This ignores evasion, increases their damage against human enemies, inflicts terror to everyone, and also reduces their critical attack chance. It does deal damage, and it deals extra damage to enemies with the man attribute. Now, tell me more about this Noble Phantasm, Grade 3 Flat Snark. So I imagine this is one of the Grade 3, like her Thames Troll you were talking about?
Yes, this is Flat Snark. Now, I won't go too deep into this because this is sort of a spoiler for the Mahoyo game that we actually do have. But Flat Snark is one of the greatest mysteries in the world, and it's basically like an ability that watches over the entire thing. How I describe Flat Snark in a way that doesn't take 1,000 hours to describe? It is. Let's just say it's like something that is always gonna watch you and always like put pressure on you. It basically makes like a bounded field that's like a reality marble that turns the world itself into fantasy. So like,
it's like the crushing weight of a parental figure's disappointment, right? Like it's just it's always there.
Basically,
it's always watching you.
You can when you're fighting Flat Snark, you basically. Unless you find it and manage to get rid of it, which is, first of all, finding it is very hard. And even if you do find it, getting rid of it is even harder. So, unless you find it and get rid of it, it's game over. You cannot win. That's the thing. Flat Snark traps you in a space, and unless you can find it and get rid of it, you're not getting out. And you're doomed. That's basically what Flat Snark is. Yeah, so
that is rough, buddy.
I won't say too much about it because again, a lot of what Flat Snark does in the game is spoilers. However, Alice does use it in Mahoyo that we have seen, and it's one of the best scenes in the entire game. Like this is like you take a visual novel and you're just like, this is the end game of what visual novels are capable of. This is a visual novel that's better looking than most anime.
Wow.
Like this is better animated than most anime I've seen. Like, jeez, this is where all the budget went.
That is ridiculous. Now tell me your thoughts about this this second looking Noble Phantasm right here. Why does her head do what mine does when I try to solve a puzzle designed for 7-year-olds? Like what's going on over here?
Oh boy, okay, so this is something that's called Wonder Snatch. This is another one of the Great Three, and this is the only one of the Great Three that we have not seen yet. So this is, again, something we do not know anything about. This is something we do not have answers about. We might get some answers if we summon Alice later down the line and we get some like bio for her like bond ascensions. But as of what we know now, all I can say is we see Wander Snatch used once in the Mahoyo that we've seen so far, but it's not put into detail. It's like it just happens. Like there's, I can't say too much again. This is like really endgame spoilers for the first game of Mahoyo, but it basically clears a bunch of enemies all at once and leaves a horrifying amount of blood all on the walls. And you're just like, what happened? What just happened? Because we don't see it. We don't get to see it.
Man,
like,
I will say from the design that I've seen, it gives me, and oh man, I'm dating myself with this anime reference, even though I feel like I'm not, but it gives me mad vibes of Walpurgisnacht from Puella Magi Madoka Magica. I'm really feeling like that thing when I see this Vondersnatch pop up.
I wouldn't be surprised, but the biggest thing I see is a reference to Evangelion. And this actually makes sense because Mahoyo...
The giant ray head.
Yes, Mahoyo is actually directly inspired from Evangelion. So this is not surprising to me at all. However, one thing I can say is that the potential for what this is massive. This is the first time we have seen Wander Snatch properly used, and what we knew about it beforehand is that Wander Snatch is Alice's most powerful ploy, and that even Aoko herself is afraid of it.
Ooh,
this is the
big words.
The Noble Phantasm animation we see is the only time we have ever seen it properly used. Even in Mahoyo of the game itself, we have.
It's just like alluded to there.
It is just like preview. Like this is like this horrifying thing that even Aoko is terrified of. But another thing that I have noted, and I have noticed during the animations, is that when we see Wander Snatch used, it is seemingly tied with what I assume to be Alice's third ascension. In her
like
third
a
ascension,
Melusine sort of dealio.
Sort of, but not quite. The animations change, but the skill seems, or the stat-wise, from a gameplay standpoint, seem to be identical. I can't confirm that yet, because, again, Alice's complete unit has not dropped yet, so if there are changes, I wouldn't know them. I'm just going off what I've seen, what sources have been saying from what I've heard. But Wander Snatch is functionally the same, but all of her animations change. Like I said, Alice's original animations, she basically just used all of her ploys, but in her third ascension, she exclusively uses Wander Snatch. That is her only thing that she uses for all of her animations.
Huh.
My guess is Wander Snatch has sort of like overtaken Alice to a point in her third ascension. Sort of like how, like, is Castoria a decent way of, like,
Yeah. Like the true ideal
group.
king is what ends up taking her over in her third ascension. I think that's a good thing to reference.
It's sort of like that, yeah. That's my guess. And the thing is, Alice, this isn't confirmed, by the way, this is all theory, but we have guesses that Alice is directly related to the first magician. She is not the first magician, but she's related to it.
Ooh.
Or related to them, whoever they are. And one thing that is very tied in Mahoyo is the dichotomy between modernization and tradition. So the most direct way of explaining this is Aoko and Alice. Aoko is very much a quote-unquote modern magus. She does things her own way, and she's very much in tune with modern trends. She's a regular girl, essentially, outside of being a magus. Alice is the complete opposite. She is traditional to a T, and she is someone who hates change, and she follows her teachings and upbringings to like a fault almost. And I almost feel like Wander Snatch is sort of that representation of the legacy that her lineage has given her. Because again, mages they build their legacy and their magecraft throughout generations, throughout years, and Wandersnatch almost feels like the spirit of her ancestors through Yumina from the first magician, sort of like imprisoning Alice and keeping her the way she is throughout the story.
Oh yeah,
Now
for
again,
sure. That does make a lot of sense. It's kind of like part of why Tokiomi was so obsessed with lineage
exactly.
in Fate Zero.
Yes, it's the exact same thing. This is a thing for all mages, and Alice is very much a traditional mage. She does not change from her teachings. She follows everything to a T. She is traditionalist to a fault. That is her character. And considering the animations that the Noble Phantasm has, it's just like I can only guess that it's sort of like a representation of Yumina's control over her as a person. Am I right? I don't know. We don't know anything about this. All
You've
of us
got a better guess
are
than I do, man. I
completely
just think it
lost.
looks neat.
It looks really cool. I do agree with that. But it is really hard to come to any answers when these are the only things that we've seen about them. Again, Nasu is just teasing both Mahoyo sequels, if we even will get both at this point. He's just teasing the future of Mahoyo through this event. We don't have any answers. We don't know if we will get any answers anytime soon, but we have this information now. So
This
we're
event's
just
just the equivalent of Jingle Keys from Nasu to us. He's just like, look at all this stuff I got. Oh man, this is great.
He's written this all in his head, and we're all just eating the crumbs, and we're just like trying to piece together what is in his head, and just like, what are you planning? What do you have for us?
What are you thinking, Nasu? Tell me.
I am absolutely. I am personally enthralled with what he has, and I cannot wait to see the full potential of what he has planned, because he has like forebodingly said that the Mahoyo we've seen so far, like the entire Mahoyo first game that we have released, is only a prequel. And I'm like, what does this mean? What do you mean?
That is a lofty claim, man. Oh man,
This is a prequel. Huge claim. This is like dropping like Vanguard or this is just like I can't even describe it, because again, in my opinion, Mahoyo is one of the best Type Moon works to ever exist. So to say that this is only the beginning is saying a lot.
That's a pretty hefty
terrifying for the future.
Yeah, equal parts terrifying and exciting, I gotta say.
Yeah, I cannot wait for what's in the future, and this event has only made me more excited.
Yeah, I mean, I really gotta say, I'm very happy for all the Mahoyo fans out there. It definitely seems like it's a really interesting work. I need to get to at some point from my backlog. But man, I think Alice is neat. I'm going to roll for Alice. Sojiro seems like a Chad. I'm sure Alco is going to make a lot of people happy. But oh wow, look what happens when you enjoy the things you talk about and enjoy the gush. We've been here for about almost an hour and a half now, and we've covered everything.
I'm sorry, I ramble a lot, but that's just what happens when you get a massive event like this. Like, this isn't, I've said this before recording, but this isn't just an event that has given us fan service in terms of like what we know. This is an event that foreshadows the future of Type Moon. Will we get that future anytime soon? I don't know. But we have gotten things in this event that I never expected we will see until we saw those sequels. So this is just like the ultimate teaser and the ultimate advertisement for Mahoyo, and it makes me extremely excited for the future.
Well, I mean, you heard it there first, folks. This event, a very big telling for the future of Type Moon in general, to be possibly revealed in Fate Grand Order 2 Electric Boogaloo. I gotta say, MP, thank you so much for coming on here. It was ridiculously interesting hearing all this stuff about Mahoyo, and all three of these servants are cracked. I think this is a lot of good stuff for the future of the game. Why don't you tell people where they can find you if they want to hear you say more things about more Type Moon things?
Oh, I have my own YouTube channel, so if you're ever interested, you can always check that out. You can also follow me on Twitter. I do tweet about a lot of different things, not just Type Moon. But if there's like a Type Moon thing that's announced, like for instance this Mahoyo event, you can definitely bet I'll be on there, like talking about my theories and discussing with other Type Moon fans about what could possibly be the implications or how this all ties together. But yeah, the main thing is I have a YouTube channel, and if you ever want to get some like Type Moon news or learn about Type Moon, I do some content sometimes.
Yeah, that is absolutely the place to go and look at. So you go over there, you watch some videos, you subscribe to that channel. If you haven't subscribed here, you do that already. You've literally watched an hour and 20 minutes ish of this video if you are hearing me say this right now. So I feel like at that point you're legally obligated. So go ahead and do that if you haven't yet. Share this with grandma.
Thank you.
Share this with all your friends. And yeah, thank you all so much for checking this out. We really do appreciate it. Anyways, gang, that's it for us. This is where you say name.
This is MP.
There you go. That's exactly what I was looking for. And we're keeping that whole thing in. You're just going to have to deal with it. And I am Kawaii50, and I think we both hope you all have a phenomenal day. And we will see you all in the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.